think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Hello. The intro is a bit of a lie. I haven't actually played Smash since like 2021. I didn't even get the green time played thing. Although I did play a lot of NES. Today I want to talk about Cowboy Bebop because I liked it. Over the summer now I worked for a while, but it was like decently far away, so I had to take the boat there. It took 26 minutes, so it was 26 minutes there and 26 minutes home. So, you know, I wanted to download something to watch, so I would be fully entertained on my boat ride. Now, I don't have Crunchyroll Premium or whatever it's called, so it was Netflix for me. So I started looking around for different alternatives, and I saw Beastars, and I was kind of like, I don't really want to watch anything anthropomorphic on public transport. I saw Violet Evergarden, and I was like, at some point, sure, but not now. I saw Cowboy Bebop, and I was like, yeah, okay, sure. I didn't know anything about Bebop. I knew the soundtrack was good, and I knew old people tend to like the anime. But other than that, I didn't know anything, which I think was the best way to experience it. I quickly realized it was episodic, which I actually kind of liked. It makes it kind of worth it to go back and rewatch individual episodes every now and then, which is just an oh so good segue to what I want to talk about now. I want to talk about some individual episodes I think have a particular talk about value, so I will have to put a spoiler warning on this, and also a spoiler warning for Monster, which I don't really know how that happens, but spoiler warning for Monster as well. So without further ado, it is time for the spoils. So, the crew are after a bounty who gets shot by what appears to be a little boy just protecting his dad, but it's later revealed that that isn't actually a little boy, it's a really old man, and that's not his dad, no, that's his slave, and he's just there to make it seem like he's actually a little boy, and the original bounty was just trying to unslave his slave. And then it just goes on from there. But what I think and what I want to talk about specifically is that the little boy is most likely just Johann Liebert in a disguise. Okay, so you have this sadistic little psychopath who's also kind of cool. Probably has a lot of little Dark Age edits about him. He likes to stand on top of staircases or sit in Johann's case and speak like he's some kind of god. He likes people in wheelchairs. He walks through fire sometimes when he feels like it. And he also gets shot in the head 2 times to be exact. It's not my favorite episode in any way, but I just really could not stop thinking about the attractive guy from Monster. Also, did you know that when Naoki Urasawa showed Monster to his editors, they weren't really sure a mystery thriller could even make it as a manga, because it was quite a new concept at the time, but he knew it was interesting, so he was like, right, I'll just make the antagonist really hot, and then it will just sell well, and it worked. It sold very well. It worked on me as well, which, thank you very much for that, Naoki Urasawa. It was very good. I really liked it. He even admits he thinks the recent 20th Century Boys didn't originally do as well was because, well, there wasn't anyone as attractive as Johann in that. So, moral of the story, if you're unsure your manga will sell, just add a really hot Czech dude, and you'll be fine. This is definitely the most confusing episode of Bebop. It's the alien episode, if you're wondering. I saw a very good YouTube video about it, and how the entire episode is most likely just one big metaphor for dealing with your past. And so the main quote from the episode, "Don't leave things in the fridge," is actually just a way of saying don't ignore your past, and the blue blob is the trauma that forms from ignoring your past. However, me at 7 AM on public transport, I didn't really think about any metaphorical messages. To me, it was the weirdest episode of Bebop by like a solid chunk, and it was an episode where a blue blob goes around just infecting people, and it's like, oh, it's a disease they've never seen, so it just feels like everyone's about to die. And then there's this one point in the episode where everyone's infected except Spike, or maybe not Ed, I don't actually remember what happened to Ed, but anyway, Spike, he gears up to go out and to kill the blob. And then it turns out the blue blob was just like a lobster that had gone bad from the fridge. And so Spike, he takes the fridge and he kicks it into outer space, but he still doesn't win because it jumps back onto the ship, it bites him in his leg, and then Spike very kindly informs us all not to leave food in the fridge because it will go bad. And then they play Waltz of the Flowers. And in the next episode they go to a town where there are no women, like nothing happened. I was very confused, but I found out if you search for Cowboy Bebop episode, one of the first things that come up is Cowboy Bebop episode 11 explained. So at least I wasn't the only one. It's not my favorite episode, which is now a line I have said twice, so I think we can all piece together where this is going. Okay, so this is my favorite episode. I have it downloaded on my phone at all times, just in case of an emergency. I'll try my best to explain. So Spike is trying to catch a serial bomber called Teddy Bomber. He's called that because he hides bombs in teddy bears. Very, very clever name, I know. He also likes to blow up tall buildings, so it didn't air in the US for a while, I heard. But we can move on from that. There's also another person after him, which is my favorite character and the person who arguably carries this entire episode, and his name is Andy. Now Andy is just horrible at his job. He thinks Spike is Teddy Bomber at first, based on a gut feeling, and well, he gets it wrong, and then he says dangerous and rides away. He's like the Prince Charming of bounty hunters, but it just makes for such an entertaining episode. Now Spike and Andy are in many ways very alike, but Spike, he despises Andy, he hates him, so he doesn't want to be compared to him. They have this weird kind of rivalry throughout the episode, to the point where they don't actually care about the terrorists anymore. They just want to prove themselves to be better than the other person. They have their final standoff, Cowboy style, and Spike wins purely by luck, to be honest. But so Andy just gives up on being a cowboy. He lends Spike his hat and crowns him the title of Space Cowboy. And then he leaves and becomes a samurai instead. Maybe this episode also has some deeper meaning that I don't understand. It's pretty likely at this point. This is also one of the things I like about it being episodic, because a character like Andy would not make the final cut if this was just like one long story, but you know, here he is. If any of you know an anime or a manga or anything that even slightly resembles this episode, then I would love to know, because there is just something about this spoiled, dumb Prince Charming that I really like, and I have seen Golden Boy. I guess they're quite similar. There's also some other content surrounding Bebop, like for example there's a movie which I saw. Not that much to say about it, I don't think. It's just another good Bebop adventure. There's a manga, which I didn't read because it came out afterwards, and it also doesn't have a score of like 8.8, so you know, I'm not gonna read it. I also didn't watch the live action, which, if I understand the community correctly, that was a good thing. I've just seen a scary amount of people say Vicious looks like Lord Farquaad, and from the perspective of a completely new and unbiased Bebop fan, I'm talking about myself, of course, I don't disagree. I've also collected some random facts about Bebop, and I don't exactly know what to do with them, so I thought I would tell you some. Only the important ones, of course. Bebop, like in the name Cowboy Bebop, is actually a type of jazz, and it's a style where they go very fast and usually improvise a lot, so not everything from the soundtrack is bebop jazz. From my very limited understanding, it was like the cool kids type of jazz, at least for a little while, because, well, you couldn't dance to it, because it was like 200 BPM minimum, so it was only for the ears. One of the founders of Bebop was Charlie Parker, which, if you've seen Whiplash, it's the person the bald guy always talks about, like, if only you were like Charlie Parker. You think Charlie Parker would bleed from a car crash? I don't exactly know where to put this, but I joined the subreddit and I saw there was this post with like an old redneck looking guy who very clearly thought it was like a subreddit for cowboys, not for a Japanese cartoon. And so he made a post saying, "Cowboy looking for a cowgirl," and it's like this 70-year-old guy within like a cowboy hat and mutton chops. I don't have the post saved, so what you're seeing now is my illustration of it, if you couldn't tell. I don't think I would show it even if I did. I don't want to show the poor guy's face, but the subreddit very clearly remembers, and I do as well. Yeah, it's comforting to know that somewhere out there, this handsome man is still looking for his cowgirl. When I watched Bebop on the boat, I also saw Pun Pun there, which, if that isn't Pun Pun, then I don't know what is. Speaking of Pun Pun, I don't really want to talk about that manga. Moving on. One of the writers specifically requested Ain to be a corgi. Now, I don't know who to honor for this, but apparently the writers, they knew they wanted a dog in the anime, because, you know, why wouldn't you want to have a good boy running around? But apparently one of them were like, no, it has to be a corgi, it has to be. And they were like, yeah, sure, and now Ain is a corgi. The episode titles are references to music, so some are easier to understand than others. Like, I don't think it's that hard to figure out where they got Bohemian Rhapsody from, but most of the other ones are rock bands from the 70s. There are apparently some pretty obvious Star Trek references in it, but I didn't understand a single one of them. I haven't seen Star Trek or read Star Trek, or I don't actually know what you can do with Star Trek, but I haven't done it. I think it's about time I wrap this up now. Cowboy Bebop is very good, especially episode 22. Goodbye.